And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Welcome to Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Friday, April 5th, 2024. And if you'd like additional weather information, you can always go to weather.gov. That is the National Weather Service's online presence. It'll bring you to a map of the continental U.S., of which if you point and click anywhere on this map, it'll pull up a local forecast with any relevant watches, warnings, or advisories. And I like to show this from time to time so you have a chance to see what's happening in other parts of the nation, especially if you're planning any short-term travel or you have friends and family in other parts of the country. Well, looking at the weather map this Friday afternoon, we have frost freeze warnings here across the Ohio-Tennessee Valley into parts of the Carolinas, northern Georgia, and Alabama. To the west, windy conditions, dry conditions developing ahead of an area of low pressure across the plains, and as a result, there are red flag warnings for critical fire conditions. That's a combination of wind, low humidity, warm temperatures. Also wind advisories and high wind warnings with winter weather advisories and a scattering of some winter storm warnings back up across central northern Rockies. So active weather in the nation's midsection. Here in Alaska, we have some active weather. The strongest system right now is pushing into the lower Bering Sea from the western Aleutians, and there is a high wind warning for later tonight into Saturday morning for the central Aleutians. But in Anchorage, now the third snowiest winter on record. I'll give you the stats on that as snow has been falling on and off for the past day and a half or so. And we're looking for a quick shot of Arctic air to come down out of the Chukchi Sea through the Bering Strait and rotate all the way through the Alaska Peninsula Sunday into early next week. And it's looking like these below normal temperatures will persist here through early April. Maybe starting to see things flip after mid-month for the latter half of April. We might end up seeing temperatures averaging above normal, but we'll talk about that coming up. Looking at what we have out there along the Bering Strait, Wales, clear skies, 12 degrees. There will be a cold front pushing through there on Sunday. That's going to turn winds around the northeast and drive down a quick hitting shot of late season Arctic air along the west coast later this weekend. Dutch Harbor, we have an approaching front that's going to bring some gusty winds. Temperature there early this afternoon, 41. Further west, the highest winds will impact areas of the central Aleutians where that high wind warning is in effect. Anchorage area continues to see some light snow throughout the day this Friday with a temperature at 31 degrees, but the snow really isn't accumulating or sticking. And then Sitka, light rain and fog, 43 degrees in areas of the Panhandle, especially at sea level, will receive another round of showers or periods of light to maybe occasionally moderate rain with a front that's moving into there at this time. Higher elevations in some of the coastal mountains, and as you go further north up along the Panhandle or northeastern Gulf Coast there north of Yakutat, could continue to pick up some light snow as we go through tonight and into the day Saturday. So on the map here for any hazardous things going on, watches, warnings, advisories, the only place right now, at least as of mid-afternoon this Friday, is out here in the central Aleutians. We have a high wind warning for late tonight after midnight through 10 a.m. Saturday morning at Atka and Adak. Could see winds gust as high as 75 to near 80 miles an hour as this area of low pressure tracks across the lower Bering, and then it will push across the eastern Aleutians Saturday night into the pre-dawn of Sunday morning. So some of the strongest winds will be impacting the central Aleutians later tonight into Saturday morning. As far as snowfall, Anchorage now has had enough snow to reach its third snowiest winter on record. 130.5 inches. All that it is needed is 4 more inches to tie the all-time record of 134.5 inches that occurred 2011, 2012, and just a little over 2 inches to surpass the second place record snowfall set in 1954-55. So with a couple of weeks of temperatures averaging below normal, the potential still exists. We could see some additional snowfall in the Anchorage area. We may have another shot coming up Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, depending on how some things unfold. But looking at the satellite imagery, we have one low that's sitting here over the northern Gulf with a front pushing into the Panhandle. Mainly rain, sea level, coastal areas, some snow as you get up into the mountains. And then here, look at this wound up low around Shemya. That low is going to be pushing eastward and then across the lower Bering before tracking back across the eastern Aleutians and the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. But a pretty well-developed low. It's a pretty deep system, 964 low. Frontal system wrapped around it. That front's going to continue pushing eastward. And this triple point, as it works its way into the North Pacific, we'll see secondary low development southwest of Kodiak Island as we go into tomorrow afternoon and Sunday. So there's another little weak low up here in the northwest part of the state, but not too much to that system. Later tonight into early Saturday morning, the lows located north of the central Aleutians. That's why such strong southwest winds and a high wind warning is in effect for that area later tonight through Saturday morning. Here's that little triple point where the occluded front still is a warm front, cold front, and that's going to help spin up a secondary low. The other low in the northern Gulf will just continue to weaken, and the front pushing inland through the Panhandle will just become a weakening trough with some rain and snow showers. But by Saturday afternoon, here's that secondary low development. The main lows will eventually cross the eastern Aleutians later Saturday night into Sunday. So by Sunday afternoon, we expect the low to be south of the Alaska Peninsula. We expect the secondary low to be just kind of sitting in the central western portion of the Gulf, and this low will just kind of sit and spin in this region into early next week. But on the backside of this primary low, that's going to help drive down just a brief burst of late season Arctic air coming on from the Chukchi Sea, passing through the Bering Strait. This front will quickly make a progress southward. The cold air, a little shot of it just riding down along the west side of the state, Bering Strait, southwest coast, and Alaska Peninsula by the time we get into Monday, early Tuesday. And that could enhance the secondary low. And if things come together just right, that could fling enough moisture, potentially in the form of some snow, back toward Anchorage. So that would be the next best chance for Anchorage to receive accumulating snow as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. So stay tuned to later forecast. But in the meantime, temperatures a bit below freezing in through portions of the Panhandle, especially there around maybe Wrangell, Petersburg up through Juneau. We have temperatures in the 20s to near 30 degrees south central. Saturday afternoon highs could be back up into the 40s, maybe a couple spots near 50 here. The outer areas of the Panhandle like Klawak, Craig could be near 50. Near 40 Anchorage, 40 there around Soldotna, even 42 there at Gulkana, Glen Allen areas. And then Sunday morning lows getting down a little below freezing as you get into the southern interior areas along the inner channels, like say again Juneau down toward Petersburg could see temperatures a bit below freezing, and then temperatures Sunday afternoon getting back up into the lower 40s around Cook Inlet up through Anchorage Bowl, and also temperatures again mid-upper 40s. A few spots could flirt with 50. And for the north, coldest temperatures are going to be along the Arctic coast. Could see maybe a few readings just below zero, like Arctic Village, or even say Shishmaref there. Some of the coldest air, though, is sitting up here near Wrangell Island. That's going to be what's dropping south through the Bering Strait Sunday into early Monday. So we'll maybe be able to start to see a hint of that. Saturday afternoon, temperatures could be 40 at Fairbanks, but teens along the Arctic coast, near 10 above. Still some single digits there on the northwest coast. Notice a little colder air. Temperatures below zero from Utqiagvik down toward Point Hope, as well as Shishmaref and Wales. And then Sunday afternoon, we have temperatures that are in the single digits, just above zero. That's the colder air, that little shot of Arctic air that's going to quickly drive southward along the west side of the state Sunday afternoon and into Monday. We have temperatures, though, east central areas from Fairbanks on over toward Eagle. Northway could be up around 40. And looking at the southwest interior, temperatures upper teens, lower 20s for Saturday morning, above freezing in the Aleutians. And then for Saturday afternoon, we expect most temperatures to be lower 40s here through the lower Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians. But again, some very breezy conditions from the eastern Aleutians back out, especially toward the central Aleutians. But the strongest winds coming late tonight through Saturday morning. Some wind gusts could be up near and just above hurricane force at 75 to 80 miles an hour. Sunday morning lows still in the 20s here Kuskokwim River Basin, maybe teens through the lower Yukon Delta. Otherwise, generally above freezing the Alaska Peninsula and into the Aleutians, and temperatures Sunday afternoon be a little above freezing Bethel, 37 all the way up there toward McGrath, 40 Dillingham, 44 King Salmon, 41 over at Kodiak City, and I'm sure a couple 40-degree readings tailing out along the Alaska Peninsula. So here's the extended temperature outlook, April 11th through the 15th. Temperatures are expected to average below normal across southern, southeastern mainland into the Panhandle. So this would still potentially support the potential for, there could still be some areas of light snow that could accumulate. Maybe near normal temperatures along the Yukon River, and then slightly above for parts of the Arctic coast and North Slope. And as we go near and just past mid-month, the 13th through the 19th, we notice the area beginning to moderate to a little above normal, northern half the mainland, near normal, though southern mainland, Panhandle, extending out into the Aleutians. I expect that there's a potential for the pattern to shift toward being warmer or above normal for the latter portion of the month, especially around and beyond April 20th. So before then, between now and say the 15th, temperatures will likely average below normal, especially southern areas, and then precipitation still averaging a little above normal April 11th through the 15th across southern areas into the Panhandle. And then as we look toward April 13th through the 19th, maybe tilting a little toward a little above normal Panhandle and a good portion of the mainland. But the main emphasis is that at least with this next quick shot of cold air that's coming down along the west side of the state Sunday into early next week, that may be the last of the real Arctic air for the year. We'll see, but certainly the trend would be in favor in the longer wave pattern. Perhaps we could see milder temperatures develop here around and after the 20th of the month. So stay tuned to later forecasts and have a great weekend.